everyone, welcome back to my next video. I've been working on my website, making videos now for a very long time. I started my website in 2005. And one of the most common criticisms I get, and I think there's a lot of validity to it, is that I make it sound too good. And it's almost like it's a fairy tale. Just come out here and everything will be peaches and cream and unicorns and there'll never be a problem in your life. And I do think there's a lot of validity to that complaint. But when I think about it, I don't think I'm offering folks a fairy tale. I think a lot of people hear fairy tale life and think that's what it's going to be. What I offer, what I promote the most is living in a van. That's what I do. That's what I suggest nearly all of you do. Now, what's involved in living in a van? It's pooping in a bucket. It's not having hot and cold running water. It's not having a shower. It's probably working at a job you don't really want to work at. I mean, the beet harvest, is that your dream job? Or Amazon 10 hours a day on your feet? Oh joy, let me at it. So, I don't think these things sound to me like a fairy tale. And they're the things I talk about a lot. We talk about heat and cold. Wherever you are, sometimes it's going to be too hot and sometimes it's going to be too cold. This is not a fairy tale. And so, but what happens is, and I'm afraid this happens too often, is people hear about the freedom and they see, look at this yard, look at my backyard. And it changes all the time. And they see the backyard and I tell them how much I love this life. And so they think it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be peaches and cream. And I hope I'm not telling you it's going to be peaches and cream, because it's not. There's always the risk of breakdowns. There is more risk to your safety. Now, actually, I believe that you're safer out here than you would be in any city. I'm almost certain of that. But, it feels to you like it's less safe than cowering in the corner of your house. So what I'm really offering you isn't a fairy tale Cinderella in a castle, because it turns out the castle's actually a prison. He won't let her out of his sight. He won't let her. And the castle's cold and dark and smelly. And he beats her, or she cheats on him if it's a prince or a princess. And, it turns out what I'm offering you is the escape from the fairy tale into the reality of a simple life of freedom. But you can't hear what I'm offering you and think, I'm going to live my normal life and it's going to be all great, because it isn't. Here's the real problem. People want to transfer their life in an apartment into wheels. They think they can buy an RV, they can buy a $3,000 RV, and boy, it's just going to be like they were living at home or living in an apartment on wheels, and they're going to have great, beautiful settings. And folks, it's not going to work like that. It's just not going to work like that at all. So really the point of this whole video is, folks, you can't just take your apartment on wheels and live your life. There's going to be sacrifice. What I'm offering you is freedom. Freedom to make your own choices and to have your own control over your own life. Cinderella never had freedom in her whole life. When she was living with the evil stepsister, they dominated her, they were evil to her. That's where most of you find yourselves right now. And when the fairy tale came true and she moved in with the prince, maybe he was the perfect guy and everything was wonderful, but I doubt it. What I'm offering you is to take control over your own life, to make your own decisions, to make your own destiny. And freedom isn't free. There's a sacrifice required, just as we know that is about our country, about every country. It has to be fought and paid for. The same with our freedom out here, and the freedom is sacrifice of luxury. What I'm offering you is a sacrifice of luxury. You're not going to walk into the bathroom, flip a switch, have a light come on, and sit down on a toilet and have your stuff go away, or climb into a hot shower and adjust the knobs and have hot water. All that, you got to give all that up if you want real freedom. Now, if you have the money, you can buy it. You don't have to make the sacrifice. But so many of you have got $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and no more money, and you buy an older RV and then it falls apart on you and your dream has turned into a nightmare. And I don't want that to happen to you. So you have to live within your means. And unless you have a lot of money, you can't have the apartment on wheels and a castle and living happily ever after. You've got to give some things up. My suggestion for most of you is a minivan, which is very small. If you have $3,000, keep working until you build up an emergency fund. Once you have an emergency fund, you can buy a really good minivan for $3,000. Any RV you buy for $3,000 is going to be a hole that you pour your money in from now on. I do know people who have gotten really lucky and bought a $3,000 RV and it worked out pretty good. It is possible. It does happen. I think it's unlikely, and I'm really discouraging all of you unless you have a good income. If you're living on less than $1,500 a month, I recommend a van. Possibly a Class B, possibly like if you can afford a Scamp or a Casita, they're not just going to fall apart on you. The roof isn't just going to rot away and you're not going to discover all the dry rot inside it. So maybe one of those, but live within your means. I just can't say that enough. I get emails and it just breaks my heart. Bob, I bought this RV and I've just been putting money in it and now I can't, now it still won't run. And can you help me? Folks, you can't live in a fairy tale. I'm not offering you a fairy tale. This life is available, but it's cheap RV living. It's not an apartment on wheels RV living unless you can afford it. Now, if you're making $2,000 a month and you have $5,000 to $10,000 in a savings account, you should buy an RV. I can tell you tales of people who've spent between $10,000 and $20,000 for an RV, and it was just crap, and they put another $10,000 or $20,000 in it. They had that money. It hurt really bad, but they had the money. If you don't have the money, it's going to do more than hurt. It's going to devastate, and I don't want that to happen to you. So what I'm saying is, I'm not offering you a fairy tale. I'm offering you a life of sacrifice to gain your freedom, and you can gain your freedom. You're going to have to sacrifice. For nearly all of you, on a really tight budget, not much of an emergency fund, I recommend a good minivan for $3,000, and then your repairs should be kept pretty low. You'll have the freedom. You can live within your means. That's the key. Don't have a fairy tale in your mind. Live within your means. Okay, that's all I had to say. I just have gotten so many of these stories, and I really wanted to get that message out. So I hope you hear that. No fairy tales. No fairy tales, real life, real freedom, real joy. I found joy out here and you can too, but it's going to cost you. Be willing to pay. Well, folks, I thank you for listening to this video. I hope you got something out of it, and you'll take my advice and find true joy in your heart and in your life. If you did get something out of this, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.